Have you ever felt like no matter how hard you try, your money just disappears faster than you can earn it? Like there's some invisible force holding you back from achieving true financial freedom? What if I told you that the problem isn't you? It's the advice you've been following for years. Today, we're diving deep into 10 outdated financial rules that are silently draining your wealth. Rules so ingrained in our minds that they become almost impossible to question. But here's the thing. The wealthiest people don't follow these rules. They break them. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why breaking free from this old-school thinking could be the difference between living paycheck to paycheck and building generational wealth. Point 1. Homeownership versus renting. Why your parents were wrong. For decades, we've been sold this dream. Buy a house, plant roots, build equity. It sounds romantic, doesn't it? But let me ask you something. If owning a home was such a guaranteed path to riches, why do so many homeowners feel trapped under mountains of debt? Here's what they didn't tell you about homeownership. We factor in a down payment, closing costs, property taxes, insurance, and unexpected repairs. Buying a house often ties up your cash flow instead of growing your wealth. That $100,000 down payment you handed over, if invested wisely in an index fund averaging 8% returns, it would grow to over $466,000 in 20 years. Meanwhile, most homeowners are stuck being house rich but cash poor, unable to access their wealth without taking on more loans or selling their biggest asset. But here's where things get interesting. The wealthy play a different game. Many of them rent where they live while investing in properties other people pay them to own. They use real estate as a tool for generating passive income, rather than tying up their money in a single emotional purchase. Think about it. The average American homeowner spends 1 to 4% of their home's value annually on maintenance alone. On a $400,000 house, that's up to $16,000 per year going straight down the drain. So ask yourself, are you buying a home because it makes financial sense or because society told you it's the right thing to do? Point 2, cutting small expenses. Why skipping coffee won't make you rich. You've heard it a million times. Skip the daily latte, save $5 a day, retire a millionaire. Sounds simple, right? Except here's the harsh truth. It's terrible advice. Focusing on small expenses like coffee is like trying to empty the ocean with a teaspoon. Sure, saving $1,000 a year by skipping your morning brew might sound impressive, but it's not going to change your financial future. Not even close. The real issue keeping you broke isn't your coffee habit. It's the absence of substantial income streams capable of generating thousands each month. Let me paint you a picture. Trevor, my former colleague, spent 3 years obsessively tracking every penny he saved by skipping coffee shops and packing Tupperware lunches. Proud of his efforts, he never realized he left $180,000 on the table by failing to negotiate a salary, kept $40,000 earning pennies in interest, and declined joining his brother's business, which now brings in $300,000 annually. Cutting small expenses only works when paired with bigger moves, like starting a side hustle, negotiating raises, or learning high-income skills. So here's the lesson. Stop beating yourself up over lattes and start focusing on what actually moves a needle. If you're earning $50,000 a year, saving an extra $1,000 barely scratches the surface, a measly 2% improvement. But increasing your income by $10,000 through strategic career moves or entrepreneurial ventures, that's a 20% leap forward. And guess what? You can still enjoy your coffee guilt-free. Because life's too short to sacrifice joy for pennies. Point 3, saving just 10% of your income. Why the recipe for financial mediocrity? Let's talk about the save 10% of your income rule. The classic advice that sounds responsible but often falls painfully short. Here's the reality. Saving 10% might work if you're starting in your early 20s, earning a solid salary, and investing aggressively, but even then it's barely enough. For most people, this approach leaves them woefully unprepared for retirement. Imagine earning $5,000 a month and diligently saving $500, 10%, while investing in an average return of 8%. After 30 years, you'd have roughly $680,000. Sounds impressive, right? But when you factor in inflation at 3% annually, that nest egg shrinks to about $280,000 in today's dollars. Is that really enough to sustain you for 20 to 30 years of retirement? Spoiler alert, it's not. The wealthy understand something critical. They don't settle for mediocrity. Instead of sticking to arbitrary percentages, they focus on maximizing their savings rate strategically. Take Thomas, for example. He didn't just save 10%. He increased his savings rate to 30% by downsizing his home, optimizing his tax strategy, and launching a consulting side hustle. Within 7 years, he had built enough wealth to make work optional, something that would have taken over 2 decades at his previous pace. The lesson here? Aim higher. Start small if you must, but progressively increase your savings rate to 20 to 30% as your income grows. Automate your savings using apps like Betterment or Wealthfront, and take full advantage of tax advantage accounts like 401k, and Roth IRAs. Stop settling for good enough. Your future self will thank you. Point 4. College is always worth it. Debunking the myth of the golden ticket. For decades, we've been sold the same story. Go to college, get a degree, and the rest will fall into place. It's presented as the ultimate golden ticket to success. But let's be honest, how many people do you know who are drowning in student debt with degrees that aren't delivering on their promises? Today, a diploma can cost north of $100,000, yet many graduates find themselves stuck in jobs paying less than $40,000 a year. Consider Zoe, a talented visual arts graduate who left school with $78,000 in student loans only to land her first job at $36,500. 5 years later, she still owes $73,000 because the interest has practically erased her payments. Meanwhile, her former roommate completed a 14-week UX design boot camp for $12,000 and now earns $92,000 working remotely with zero educational debt. Who's ahead now? The truth is, education remains valuable, but education and college degrees are no longer synonymous. Smart alternatives are emerging everywhere. Trade schools produce graduates in fields like plumbing, electrical work, and HVAC who earn $60,000 to $100,000 annually after just 1 to 2 years of training. Online certification programs developed with major companies cost under $1,000 and lead directly to high-demand careers. Even entrepreneurial paths have never been more accessible, with countless young creators building six-figure businesses through platforms like YouTube and Shopify without formal degrees. Education is an investment, and every investment should be judged by its return. Before committing to a traditional 4-year degree, ask yourself, does this path align with my goals and will deliver the ROI I need? If the answer is no, don't be afraid to explore smarter, faster, and cheaper ways to build your future. Point 5. Don't talk about money. The culture of silence that costs you wealth. Imagine sitting around a table with your closest friends or family, discussing everything under the sun, except money. It's almost like there's an invisible force field around the topic, making it untouchable. But why? Who decided that talking about money was rude or taboo? This culture of silence isn't just inconvenient. It's expensive. By avoiding these conversations, we're missing out on some of the most valuable financial lessons life has to offer. Think about it. How many people in your circle are secretly struggling with debt, while others might be quietly building wealth? If no one talks about it, how will you ever learn what works and what doesn't? The wealthy don't operate this way. They openly share strategies, compare investment returns, and discuss tax optimization techniques over coffee or at networking events. They understand that financial knowledge is power, and hoarding it only benefits those who already have it. So, why does this taboo persist? Because it keeps the average person stuck in a cycle of ignorance. When you don't talk about money, you rely on scattered internet advice or the limited perspective of whoever happens to be in your immediate circle, regardless of their actual financial success. Breaking this taboo starts small. Have honest conversations with trusted friends about saving, investing, and budgeting. Teach your kids early about earning, spending, and delayed gratification. Join online communities where people openly discuss financial wins and struggles without judgment. And next time someone offers you financial advice, don't just nod and move on. Ask them, can you tell me more about how that worked for you specifically? Talking about money isn't rude. Staying silent could cost you your financial future. Point 6. Get a secure 9 to 5 job and stay loyal. The myth of career stability. For decades, the formula for career success seemed simple. Find a good company, stay loyal, work hard, and eventually you'd be rewarded with promotions, raises, and maybe even a gold watch at retirement. Sounds comforting, right? Except that social contract is dead. Gone. Buried. Yet millions of people still cling to this outdated playbook, often to their own financial detriment. Here's the harsh truth. Loyalty to one employer can actually stunt your earning potential. Research shows that job hoppers consistently earn 10 to 20% more with each strategic move, while loyal employees often receive annual raises of just 2-3%, barely keeping pace with inflation. Take Victor, for example. He stayed loyal to the same investment firm for 14 years, receiving predictable annual raises of 2.3%. Meanwhile, his former cubicle made Alicia change employers 3 times, scoring salary bumps of 18 to 22% with each move. By year 14, Alicia was earning $141,000 to Victor's $78,000 for essentially the same work. That $63,000 annual difference? That's Victor's loyalty tax. The smartest professionals today treat their careers like businesses. They understand their market value, continuously develop in-demand skills, and maintain robust professional networks. Strategic moves every 3 to 5 years are typically optimal for most careers. This doesn't mean job hopping recklessly. It means being intentional about your growth. Loyalty to a company can make sense if it's earned through competitive compensation and real opportunities for advancement. But blind loyalty based on outdated career advice? That's a luxury few can afford in today's economy. So ask yourself, are you playing a long game, or are you stuck in a system that rewards patience but punishes ambition? Point 7. Credit cards are evil, the misunderstood tool that can build wealth. Let's address the elephant in the room, the idea that credit cards are inherently evil. This fear-based narrative has been perpetuated by financial gurus who claim that using credit cards is like playing with fire. And yes, if you're prone to overspending or carrying balances, credit cards can indeed be dangerous. But here's the twist. When used responsibly, they're not just harmless. They're powerful tools for building wealth. Imagine this. Sarah spends $3,000 every month on groceries, gas, utilities, and other necessities. If she uses a 2% cashback credit card, she'll earn $720 annually just by paying for things she'd buy anyway. For frequent travelers, premium travel cards offer even greater perks, like free flights, hotel upgrades, and lounge access, all without spending an extra penny. Beyond rewards, credit cards provide unparalleled consumer protections. When Dylan discovered unauthorized charges on his debit card, his bank account was drained for 19 days, triggering cascading fees and freezing his mortgage payment. Had he used a credit card, those fraudulent charges would have been immediately suspended, leaving his actual cash untouched. But the real magic of credit cards lies in their ability to boost your credit score, a three-digit number that influences everything from mortgage rates to insurance premiums. The difference between excellent and poor credit can mean paying over $100,000 more over the life of a mortgage. So, why do so many people shy away from credit cards? Because they've been conditioned to see them as risky, rather than recognizing them as tools that require discipline. Smart users don't carry balances. They pay off their cards in full each month, select ones with rewards that align with their spending habits, and leverage these tools to strengthen their financial position. Avoiding credit cards entirely means voluntarily accepting higher costs, fewer protections, and closed-doors opportunities. Ask yourself, are you letting fear keep you from harnessing one of the most underrated wealth-building tools available? Point 8. Never have debt. The myth that keeps you playing it safe. The mantra, never have debt, sounds virtuous, doesn't it? After all, being debt-free feels liberating, and the idea of owing money to anyone makes most people uneasy. But what if I told anyone soundbite oversimplifies a far nuanced reality? Not all debt is created equal. There's a profound difference between bad debt, which drains your wealth, and good debt, which helps build it. Bad debt buys depreciating assets or funds consumption. Think high-interest credit card balances or loans for luxury cars. Good debt, on the other hand, helps you acquire or create assets that appreciate or generate income over time. For example, Gabriella spent 12 years saving diligently until she had $270,000 to purchase her first rental property outright. Meanwhile, her neighbor Lucas used a 25% down payment, $67,500, to buy a similar property, then used the rental income to cover the mortgage while building equity. By the time Gabriella finally bought her single cash-flowing property, Lucas owned 5, each generating income and appreciating in value. While Gabriella's approach carried less risk, Lucas's strategic use of leverage created substantially more wealth in the same time frame. So why does this myth persist? Because society teaches us to fear debt without distinguishing between its types. The wealthy understand that debt is simply a tool, neither inherently good nor bad. Its value depends entirely on how it's used. They focus on debt's potential return rather than avoiding it outright. Strategic borrowing allows them to scale investments, seize opportunities, and amplify their earning potential. Of course, total debt avoidance might make sense if you struggle with undisciplined borrowing or simply sleep better at night, knowing you owe nothing. But recognize this as a personal preference, not a wealth-maximizing strategy. Debt isn't the enemy. It's how you wield it that determines whether it works for or against you. Ask yourself, are you letting fear of debt hold you back from opportunities that could accelerate your financial growth? Point 9. Max out your 401k no matter what. The hidden cost of over-prioritizing retirement accounts. Maxing out your 401k has long been heralded as the ultimate financial move, and for good reason. Contributing to tax-advantaged retirement accounts is a smart way to build long-term wealth. But here's the catch. Blindly funneling every spare dollar into your 401k without considering your broader financial picture can leave you cash poor and opportunity-starved during your most productive years. Imagine having $300,000 locked away in retirement accounts, but being unable to access it when life-changing opportunities knock, or worse, during emergencies. This is exactly what happened to Nathan, who religiously maxed out his 401k for nearly a decade. When a colleague offered him a $60,000 buy-in to join a startup that eventually sold for $14 million, Nathan had to decline. Despite having over $320,000 in retirement savings, he couldn't touch it without incurring devastating penalties. Similarly, Olivia found her dream home at a 22% discount, but couldn't come up with a down payment because her $270,000 was tied up in retirement funds. These aren't isolated incidents. They're common consequences of prioritizing illiquidity over flexibility. The wealthiest individuals understand the importance of balancing retirement savings with accessible assets. They capture employer matches, essentially free money, and then diversify their investments across taxable brokerage accounts, real estate businesses, and other liquid vehicles. This approach ensures they have capital available for emergencies, investments, or once-in-a-lifetime opportunities, without derailing their long-term plans. True financial planning isn't about maximizing one account. It's about creating a holistic strategy that serves you at every stage of life. So instead of blindly dumping everything into your 401k, aim for a balanced portfolio. Contribute enough to get the full employer match. Then allocate additional savings toward assets you can access when needed. Remember, wealth isn't just about how much you save. It's about how well you position yourself to seize opportunities along the way. Point 10. Follow what worked for your parents. Why yesterday's playbook won't win today's game. Raise your hand if you've ever heard this. Do what worked for me. Whether it's from your parents, grandparents, or older mentors, this advice comes from a place of love and experience, but often ignores one critical factor. The world has changed. The economic landscape your parents navigated bears almost no resemblance to today's reality. Back then, college tuition could be covered with summer jobs, housing prices were 2 to 3 times annual income, and pensions guaranteed retirement security. Fast forward to now, and the rules have fundamentally shifted. Education costs have skyrocketed. Median home prices exceed 5 to 7 times annual income in many markets. Pensions are virtually extinct, and interest rates on savings accounts barely register above zero. Following yesterday's playbook in today's economy is like trying to drive a Tesla using a horse and buggy manual. It simply doesn't work. The Bryant family built comfortable lives as a teacher and postal worker in the 1980s, owning a lakeside home by age 32. Their son Caleb followed their advice, racking up $112,000 in student debt for a communications degree, only to land a $42,000 entry-level job. Meanwhile, his friend Jasmine ignored her parents' objections and skipped college altogether, opting for a $17,500 cybersecurity certification that led to an $88,000 starting salary and consistent advancement. The lesson? Financial strategies must evolve with the times. Today's wealth building often requires approaches previous generations might find unrecognizable. Frequent job changes to accelerate income growth, multiple income streams including side hustles, investments in digital assets, and creative housing solutions like house hacking or co-living. Respect your parents' journey, but recognize it occurred in an economic context that no longer exists. Take timeless principles like saving and investing, but adapt them to fit today's unique challenges and opportunities. Success isn't about repeating the past. It's about learning from it to create your own future. If there's one thing I want you to take away from this video, it's this. The old rules don't work anymore. Following outdated advice won't lead you to financial freedom. It will keep you stuck playing the same game everyone else is losing. But now that you know better, you have the power to make smarter choices. Start questioning the conventional wisdom holding you back. Which rule resonated most with you? Drop a comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you found value in this video, hit subscribe and join our community of financial rule breakers who refuse to settle for mediocrity. Together, we'll rewrite the rules of money and maybe even create a few of our own